OutBoard Data Tiering for ERP can help you reduce total cost of ownership, enhance productivity, and support compliance by removing storage capacity constraints in productive SAP systems. OutBoard is ABAP-based, and so it is simply installed on your SAP system and accessed via a transaction. The first step in the archiving project is to figure out what you want to archive. OutBoard helps you analyze your data so you know how it is distributed and can then decide what should be kept and what should be archived. Let's go to the analyzer and create a run ID for an initial analysis. You can include analysis for multiple archiving objects, however many you want to analyze. So let's take FI doc, for example. Once we hit execute, we are taken to the execution tree and we can see the steps that it runs through. And when it is done, you can check the results here in the analyzer or in mass archiving, where you will use the analysis to help automate the archiving process. Since the execution can take a little bit of time, we already have some analysis prepared in the system that we can use. So let's go back into mass archiving. Mass archiving can also be split into multiple run IDs to group them via years or archiving objects, for example. So let's create a run ID zdemo_MA. And we give it a description. Now we can add some objects that were already analyzed in the system. This is a list of analysis that we already have completed in the system. So let's take FI doc, for example. And you can see below that a list of variants are being created based on the analysis. And if we check here, we can see the results. If we select one, you can see the distribution through year, period, company code, how many objects can be archived, and what is the space saving potential. If we go back, we can check the variants that will be executed. These can be filtered further for convenience by company code, etc. And here you have 12 variants that will be created and executed in the mass archiving run, for example, for company code 1000 and fiscal year 1994. You click OK, and these are saved. When we are done with the selection, we can add this object to the execution tree, which is basically a container where we can put all the objects we want and run them together. So let's add this selection to the tree. The system creates the variants we selected and adds them in. This execution tree is organized by variant. So for each archiving object and variant, there will be sequentially executed steps. This is default. However, we can change this to be based on phase by going back and removing it from the tree. If you go into settings, we can change it to by phase. We can also add some additional SAR archiving steps if we like. And once it is done, we go back in and see that it is now organized by phase. So write for all, delete for all, store for all. Then you simply hit execute, and if you go back, you can see the progress here. Of course, you can also split this into multiple jobs and schedule them. It doesn't have to be manually executed. If we fast forward a little bit to when your archiving is done, I'd like to demonstrate how easy it is to access that data. Essentially, very little has changed from an end user perspective. To access the data included in the archiving run we just created, you simply go into your standard display transaction for financial documents, FB03. You add your document number, your company code, and the fiscal year that we just archived is 1994. So this is a document that we just archived from the online database into cheaper cloud storage. You can see the note at the bottom that the document is already archived. And if you try to change the document, you also get a note that it's archived and therefore cannot be changed. So that's how easy it is to analyze your data for archiving potential, set up and automate archiving, and essentially move all of your non-critical data into the cloud, making it still accessible via SAP standard transactions and freeing up space and resources in your online database with OutBoard Data Tiering for ERP.